est dans le compte à rebours pour l'élection québécoise de 2026. Ouais. Ça compte.
Françoise, sur cette question-là.
Michael touche à un point auquel j'allais aborder. Arrêtez-moi ça, le Bloc gagne rien ce soir. Il perd 9 sièges sur 33. Il sauve les meubles, je suis d'accord. Mais après ça, on se transpose du côté de Mark Carney. Dans ce contexte-là, puis avec la difficulté en termes d'image par rapport à l'Ouest, il y a du travail à faire, Mark Carney. Là,
oui, mais moi, je suis pas d'accord. François, c'est comme votre vague orange de 2011. Ah oui, vous aviez plein de députés, mais ça a donné absolument rien. On est en situation majoritaire. Vous avez eu au NPD beaucoup plus de pouvoir avec votre vingtaine de sièges en situation minoritaire. Alors, des fois, on peut avoir moins de sièges, comme c'est le cas du Bloc, et gagner plus de pouvoir. C'est exactement ce qui se produit.
Je dis pas le contraire. Là, ce que je dis, c'est premièrement, là, le Bloc doit quand même réaliser qu'il a perdu 9 sièges.
Ah oui, bien sûr.
Alors, quand tu regardes en pourcentage,
il a perdu quantitativement, mais il a gagné qualitativement.
Oui,
ça fait toute la différence.
Il a gagné plus de pouvoir. Même en ayant perdu 9 sièges, il va avoir plus de pouvoir.
Sauf si le gouvernement décide de ne pas rien faire avec eux.
Il n'y a pas le choix. Il n'y a pas le choix. Il n'y a pas de majorité.
Il y a le choix, Jean-François, je m'excuse.
Oui,
il y a le choix de caler le bluff. Il y a le choix de caler le bluff. Mais à l'approche de 2026, caler le bluff sur une question identitaire.
Ouais.
Ah ben là, ça va dépendre des...
Très bien, Louis.
Est-ce
que M. Carney, est-ce qu'on va l'entendre avant demain matin?
The first question, will he be in the House of Commons?
Yes.
Because I keep looking at those results in Carleton, and I'm waiting for them to find the stack of votes that puts him back on top. Yeah. There are still lots of polls in Carleton that have not been counted.
But he has not led that race yet.
Oh, he is significantly behind. Yeah. It's not a close race at this point.
Yeah. Jason Kenney, we stuck Jason Kenney in there because I also heard Jamil Javani say your name as someone who is a conservative that he likes and points to as someone who is able to bring people together. What did you make of that? And there is obviously a problem here between Ford conservatives and Poilievre conservatives, and I don't know if it matters, but there's some deep animosity.
Well, there are certainly some personal differences, and to state the obvious, I have a firm grasp of the obvious. By which I mean, I think this is actually much more personal than it is ideological or factional.
Okay.
Every party has certain issue factions and personality factions. In this case, there seem to be 2 or 3 personalities that have really ramped up what I think is an unnecessary conflict that simply needs to get resolved.
Yeah.
And, I know Jamil, for whom I have enormous regard. He's a incredibly talented a guy with an amazing story.
Yes.
He has a particular series of grievances. And I just, none of this should have been in the public domain. Let's put it that way.
No, for sure.
And I agree there should have been earlier efforts to engage get those relationships well settled much earlier. But it's not like there's a huge rift. Most of the people going door to door for federal conservative candidates in the last 5 weeks were going door to door for Doug Ford's candidates a few weeks before that. And you know what? The Ontario PC critique has been that Poilievre's team doesn't know how to win in Ontario. He's right now over 45% of the popular vote. Mr. Ford won 43% of the popular vote earlier this year. So the federal conservative campaign is getting a better result, a larger total raw vote count, and a higher share of the popular vote.
Yeah.
That's nothing to sneeze at. And I think so a little bit of everybody has to put some water in their wine and put the best interests of the country first.
Yeah.
And maybe the common interests of partisan conservatives somewhere in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Pierre Poilievre had called Doug Ford right from the get-go, the same way that Mark Carney did, he went and had breakfast with him, it probably would have helped. Whether it matters at this stage, I don't know.
Well, remember, it's not just Poilievre versus Ford. It's Poilievre versus Tim Houston in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And it seemed like there were a series of candidates who looked like they could be perfectly acceptable and presentable candidates for the party who just didn't fit in with the Poilievre clique. Yeah. I mean, Mike DeJong in BC, why was he not allowed to be a candidate? So, it's one thing, you can have a tent that's too broad and you lose all definition and you don't stand for anything, but you can have a tent that's too narrow and you just wind up defeating yourself.
Okay, I want to go to Conservative Party headquarters, if we can. Maybe. Possibly.
Much, Anne-Marie. Lots of things to keep our eyes on.
That's just a look inside the room where, yeah, that's what it looks like when you have not won an election and you're waiting to see more. Let's go to Kate McKenna, who's, I imagine, been talking to people and getting a sense of how people are feeling in that room tonight. Kate, yes, they haven't won, but it does look like they have improved over what they got in the last vote. But tell me what people are telling you.
Well, what your guest just mentioned about the federal Conservatives doing better in Ontario than the provincial Conservatives did, that's something that the campaign has been going around talking about. That's something that is very much being discussed in this room. And yes, they are losing. They're aware that they're losing. However, they're happy. Well, I wouldn't say they're happy, but they're encouraged by their gains that they've made. They're encouraged by the amount of popular vote that they're getting. But of course, one thing that's hanging in this room is that Pierre Poilievre has not won his seat yet. In fact, he appears to be trailing in his seat. We are hearing that he is set to talk in a few minutes, but they did play the Jamil Jivani interview here. At the same time, obviously, it was on the CBC broadcast, and there was a lot of applause in the room for the things that he was saying. There was a lot of hollering and cheers for the people in this room who feel that Doug Ford's interventions in this campaign were not helpful, and they did not advance the Conservative cause in this very competitive election. So this ongoing rift appears to still be taking place within this party, and we'll be watching to see how it manifests over the next few days.
Okay, Kate McKenna, thank you so much for that. I'm going to now go to Ian Hannah-Mansing, who's got some results. Ian.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at Greater Vancouver and see how the NDP are doing there in terms of seat change, first of all. So we'll put that up on the screen, I hope, or if we don't, then I will, yeah, there we go. So this is vote change in Greater Vancouver, and you see the Liberals are up. The Conservatives are up. This is a pattern we've seen in other parts of the country as well, and you can see that this is at the expense of the NDP. Now, hours ago, when we looked at New Brunswick, this kind of vote change didn't really affect seats at all, but in Greater Vancouver, it is affecting seats. Let's take a look, first of all, at Port Moody, Coquitlam. This was more or less a three-way race in 2021. This time around, the NDP has plummeted from having won this riding. Bonnie Zerillo is the incumbent MP. You can see she's not only in third place, she's in a distant third place, and it's put the Conservatives in first. Arguably, the progressive vote, the left of center vote, has been split just enough between the NDP and the Liberals to allow the Conservatives to come up through the middle. And take a look at this. New Westminster, Burnaby, Millardville. Peter Julian, one of the mainstays of the NDP for so many years. He's been the MP here since 2004, and he is in third place. And again, easy even for me to do the math between the Liberals and the NDP. If someone had been able to consolidate those numbers on the center left, that would easily win. But in both of those cases, Rosemary, at this point, arguably, it has allowed, once again, the Conservatives to come up through the middle. Now, those aren't elected yet, but it is interesting, and it helps explain why the numbers look the way they do, particularly in BC at this point in the evening.
Okay, thank you for that, Ian. I want to go back to Jason Kenney, if I can. Just to ask you this question, shortly we're going to hear from Jagmeet Singh. That's the little box there at the bottom of your screens. We're also going to bring in Randall Garrison in a moment so he can respond to some of what Mr. Singh is saying. But if Pierre Poilievre ends up with a bigger number of seats than the last vote, 149, 150, put aside whether he's going to win his riding, where he is still trailing, but put that aside. How does the Conservative Party view that? Does he have the ability to stay? What do you think is going to happen there? And then if you want to throw in the thing about the riding, I don't know whether this is real, but he hasn't led at all night.
Yeah, well, look, I can't comment on the riding.
Sure.
I will just say that I think Mr. Poilievre, if he decides to stay as leader and leader of the opposition, he will have overwhelming support to do so. I don't see any faction or group within the party egging for a new leadership. I think the party realizes changing leaders every 3 or 4 years is counterproductive. And I think, on the merits here, he, right now, 42% of the popular vote nationally. The last time the Conservatives achieved that was under Brian Mulroney 37 years ago in 1988. Growth in new cohorts of supporters in a broader Conservative coalition that includes younger voters than typical, apparently doing very well in communities of new Canadians. And one of the most interesting things, I talked earlier about the sort of blue-collar swing that we seem to be observing towards Conservatives. Conservatives are winning in Windsor, Tecumseh, Windsor West, one of the Sudbury seats. We almost won Hamilton. We're competitive in Hamilton Centre. I've never seen that. These are long-time traditional NDP. So the NDP swing was, as I know it's fashionable around here to refer to the progressive bloc. A lot of traditional NDP voters wouldn't regard themselves as on the left. They're for the little guy. Sure. And Pierre Poilievre has been fighting for the little guy. He's broadened the Conservative coalition in that way. And picked up apparently at least 30 seats. So, and finally, he has been, in my judgment, the most effective opposition leader in our lifetime. Some might say too effective. Such an effective opposition leader that he became typecast as in that role.
Well, and he also got rid of the very things that were going to help him, Justin Trudeau and a carbon tax. I mean, that was his own success brought that to him as well.
More than that, look, I mean, I heard my friend Arif here dismissively referring to Mr. Poilievre's three-word slogans. Look, he created the issue matrix that has been dominating Canadian politics for the past 2 years around affordability, the cost of living, housing, immigration, much of it represented, yes, by the carbon tax. He's also taken some principled and courageous positions. I think he took on the Liberals on their class warfare baiting on the capital gains tax increase. I believe he's the only leader who in French and English pointedly opposed the Quebec Bill 21 law against religious symbols in Quebec. Did somebody else?
No, don't go there. No. He didn't. He actually has fudged whether he would intervene in the Supreme Court on it. So
I heard his clear opposition to it. So my
he
point,
says he's opposed to it, but he doesn't say
what he would do about it.
I think he ran a substantive campaign. He set up the issue set. He helped to defenestrate Justin Trudeau. And he's got the best result for a Conservative leader since 1988.
Okay, and I take all those points, and they're excellent points, and I'm going to let Jagmeet Singh speak in a moment, except that wasn't the bar. The bar was 25 points ahead, and you were going to form government. And you're telling me no one in the party is going to be angry with him?
Oh, there's going to be a desire for sure for a retrospective. And I think any leader after this circumstance should show some humility, should take a step back. And I think the important thing is, does a leader have the ability to learn and to grow? I think we've seen him modify his tone, his approach, his issue focus over the past several months. I think that demonstrates such an ability. He'll have to demonstrate that to the party, but I don't see anybody gunning for his job.
Yeah, I'm not saying his leadership's in any trouble, but he needs to reflect on why he's not going to be prime minister tomorrow, because a large part of it was the leadership. The leader was the biggest liability for the party. The strategy that the party pursued, at least for the first part of the campaign, was clearly wrong. He bears responsibility for that. So he should clearly have to answer some questions to the party.
It's also very dangerous to take for granted for both the Liberals and the Conservatives that the NDP weakness in this election is something that will be permanent. On the contrary, I don't know what Mr. Singh is going to say, but at this point, it's not really hard to imagine that it could be stronger with a stronger leader than it has been over the past 3 elections.
Althea?
Well, the ridings that you mentioned are three-way races, that they're not, that the Conservatives got in through the middle because of the progressive vote splitting. But I get your point, especially in the 905, where I think Pierre Poilievre did a really good job, especially on the crime stuff. I think the reason that he's going to have trouble, whether or not he wants to stay, is the interview that we just saw with Jamil Jivani. That aggressive tone really does not sit well with a significant chunk of the caucus that has been reelected. And we will find out as soon as the first caucus meeting whether or not they decide to approve the Reform Acts, and the caucus gives itself the power to decide whether or not Pierre Poilievre stays. And I think that will be a way for them to negotiate, because I think there are things that they would like. One MP called it the end of the reign of terror. Basically, they want Jenny Byrne gone. And if the result is low enough, they will set conditions to say, you want to stay, well, these are the changes we want to see.
Okay, quickly, Mr. Kenney, because I'm going to go to Mr. Singh.
Yeah, I would say, look, I think there are legitimate questions around tone.
Yeah.
And I think, amongst other things, if he had made an effort to more clearly position to auditioning for the role of Prime Minister rather than opposition leader late last year, it could have been marginally helpful.
Okay.
I don't think it would have changed the fundamental structure of this election in the way things unfolded.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason Kenney. Let's go to Jagmeet Singh. He's there in his riding in British Columbia. I should tell you that right now, as things stand, Mr. Singh is well behind in his own riding. He is in third with 4,000 votes. The other two far ahead. So things not looking good for him in his own riding tonight. And as we've shown you there, the NDP not even official party status. Let's listen in live.
We're good. Thank you. Thank you. That was very nice, very sweet of you all. Thank you so much. You're gonna get me all choked up here, guys. Gotta keep it together here, folks. Thank you very much. The love is amazing. I appreciate y'all. Big thank you to Suzanne. She's been with us from the beginning. Huge thank you. Appreciate her so much. Thank you, thank you. And all of you in this room, you guys poured your heart into this. Thank you so much for everything you've done. You're amazing. Love you all. And I know in election parties, night parties across the country, people are gathered. I want to thank them all for all their hard work. They're amazing people gathered together across the country. I want to take a moment to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on his victory. He has an important job to do to represent all Canadians and to protect our country and its sovereignty from the threats of Donald Trump. Tonight and every night, all of us here, we're on Team Canada. We want Canada to thrive, and we're going to continue to fight for Canada. I want to congratulate all the other leaders on a hard-fought campaign. It's been the honor of my life to represent the people of Burnaby Central. Tonight they chose... Thank you. Tonight they chose a new member of Parliament, and I wish them well as they continue to work hard for this community. Obviously, I know this night is a disappointing night for New Democrats. We had really good candidates that lost tonight. I know how hard you worked. I spent time with you. You're amazing. I'm so sorry you're not going to be able to represent your communities. I know you're going to continue to fight for them. I know on how many doors you knocked, how many family dinners you missed, how many nights your kids went to bed without you there to tuck them in. I know it was a tough sacrifice, and I just want to thank, and we can get a round of applause to every single candidate that ran for us. Thank you. Yeah. Thank all those incredible candidates and their incredible teams, because no candidate can do it without a team. The volunteers, the staff, thank you to all those candidates and their incredible staffs. One more time. Choosing to commit your life to politics obviously comes with some sacrifice, but we choose this life because of the chance to change the country we love for the better. We may lose sometimes, and those losses hurt, it's tough. But we are only defeated if we stop fighting. We're only defeated when we believe that those that tell us that we can never dream of a better Canada, a fairer Canada, a more compassionate Canada. I have met New Democrats from coast to coast to coast who will never back down, even when they're told that there's no room for them at the table. we make room for everyone because we believe that there is enough wealth in Canada for all of us to live the life that we deserve. Honestly, I got to avoid making eye contact with certain people because then it's going to get too emotional up here. So I just made the mistake of doing that, so I'm going to look away now. You know who you are. Don't look at me again. Almost 8 years ago, I was elected the leader of this incredible party, this incredible movement.